Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is July 31st, and right now we're looking at the visible satellite imagery. You can see we don't have many low clouds across the area. You can see them already burning off, a lot of sunshine across the area, unless you're underneath some of the smoke from the flat fire, the bedrock fire across some of Oregon. I believe this is the Elkhorn fire across Idaho here, and the Eagle Bluff fire here across northern Washington, right on the Canadian border there. You can see it's not producing too much smoke right now, but you can see the smoke it was producing overnight kind of drifting off to the south here. Some of that bedrock fire coming off to the northeast as well. But not a bad day overall here across Pacific Northwest. Our nice weather continues here. We'll take a look at those details coming up. We'll take a look at the extended forecast. We're going to go through a bit of a warm up here this weekend, and then the potential for a trough still exists here as we look off into the extended forecast coming up. This is looking at that Elkhorn fire there across Idaho here, producing quite a bit of smoke out there right now. And you can see the bedrock, the flat fire still producing good amounts of smoke there across Oregon also. And this is Spokane National Weather Service talking about the hazy skies at times, talking about the fluctuating smoke levels in the Okanagan Valley there. So nice graphic here from National Weather Service Spokane put out yesterday here. And this is that weather station. If you want to save 10% off, this thing is great. It's got temperature, lightning, it's got ultrasonic anemometer, haptic rain gauge there. The thermometer is very accurate. The smartphone app is great as well, and all the data gets stored for you in the cloud there. I highly recommend this weather station, and you can scroll around this map, and it shows you where everybody else has their station out there as well. You can click on everybody's station and see their data as well. So highly recommend that station. Click on that link down below for 10% off. Look at Seattle again yesterday, 77 degrees, 2 degrees below average there, but pretty much perfect weather there. I mean, you can't draw it up much better here, folks. That's why a lot of people like to move here. I mean, the climate is just so nice in the summertime. It's really the best weather probably on the planet, actually. Low relative humidities too. This is the 5-day outlook. Pendleton, Oregon. Talking about the chance of thunderstorms as we go on in through Thursday, Friday, and this weekend. We'll take a look at those details here coming up as well. This is potential for the Cascades of Oregon, Washington, and of course the higher terrain of British Columbia as well. Now we're looking at the GFS ensemble mean here. You can see that low pressure system is going to be bubbling around western British Columbia here. That does weaken over the next few days. As we go through the end of the week, it backs up here and we start to build somewhat of a ridge here. It's not an exceptionally strong ridge or anything, but we are going to warm up here through the weekend into early next week. And then we get kind of a little bit of a pattern change showing up in the models. You can see the trough here that's been showing up. It's going to be smoothed out at this range. This is the average of all 30 ensemble members on the GFS. So there's that troughing there off the west coast. Check it out. Not a bad signal there as we go on in through next week into mid next week. It's something we'll be watching right now. It's still purely fantasy forecast at this point. This is the European ensemble mean here of all of its 50 members. So you can see that low pressure system, that trough hanging out. We get the redevelopment here and it backs up and we build this ridge all the way up into the Northwest Territories and the Yukon here up towards Alaska. And we warm things up here as we go on into early next week. But then the the European showing something similar to what the GFS was showing with a little bit of troughing here, but you can see it's not quite as strong showing up in the European model. However, more on that here in a moment. This is a European control run, though. So this is basically the deterministic, the initial conditions, the best we understand them. This is not an ensemble mean. We put this into motion here, and you can see there goes that trough spinning out here. The ridge builds, and then you can see kind of that trough kind of try to drive down across western British Columbia here. Does it get close enough to bring precip to Seattle or Portland, Washington, Oregon coastline? Maybe. It's kind of still up in the air, of course, at this range, but it does bring some precipitation. Odds are pretty good across British Columbia. Some precipitation will occur with that trough onto the extended if things verify as such. Now taking a look here, this is Portland. You can see we warm up here through this weekend above average. The red line is the average temperature this time of year. You can see these temperatures getting into the low 90s here for Sunday and Monday coming up for Portland. Check out Sea Lion Caves on the Oregon coast. The average high for this time of year is right around 57 or so. And you can see if you're going out to some portions of the Oregon, Washington coast, bring a jacket. It can be pretty chilly out there. This is Hoquiam, Washington, and you can see kind of seasonable temperatures here as we go on into the extended forecast. A little bit of squirrely nature to some of these ensembles in the extended, but don't worry about that right now. Here we go, Bend, Oregon. You can see a little bump in temperatures here as we build that ridge here Sunday, Monday. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit above average. Then maybe that trough starts to roll through here as we go through the mid portion of the following week. Seattle, something similar there. So a nice stretch of some days above average here, probably starting Wednesday, heading on in through this weekend, on into next week, and then maybe a little bit of a downtrend after that. We'll see how that goes. Spokane, pretty seasonable here as well. Maybe a little bit of bump down with that fantasy trough out in the extended. This is Seattle, and this was put out yesterday afternoon on the European Ensemble. And you can see some of the ensembles do have measurable precip again around the August 9th and 10th time frame here. So this is what we're watching off in the extended here. After a nice stretch of warm weather here, we have that potential for the trough rolling in here. Again, it's way out there in the forecast, but something fun to watch for this time of year. Hoquiam, Washington, something similar there, even some better precipitation amounts on some of these ensemble runs. And this is Bellingham. Again, something similar there. You can see actually some of these ensembles in pretty good agreement with each other, but there are some dry members in there as well. A lot of possibilities at this range. Salem, Oregon, it could get all the way down into the Willamette Valley as well, just kind of highlighting this, showing the European ensembles. Now, this is looking at the deterministic. So what's going to go on here? Check now. I want to highlight this weekend coming up here. So you can see not much activity going on except maybe across from the southeast Oregon here, and maybe some of the east slopes of the Cascades. We go through Thursday, maybe up towards the Blue Mountains as well. Then the higher terrain of Idaho. Check it out. You guys are getting a pretty good dousing here by the time we go into Thursday and Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. Then as we go through Friday, you can see some of these storms start to pop up across the Cascades of Washington, Oregon, and again across southwest Idaho, some of the higher terrain of Idaho as well, southwest Montana, I should say. And then we go on in through Saturday. Check it out. Look at this signal here that's been showing up the last couple of days or so across the Cascades of Washington, Oregon, the higher terrain of BC. We're going to be introducing some thunderstorm threat air across northeast Washington, Idaho, the Rocky Mountains up into Canada, Alberta, and then on Sunday, kind of a repeat here across the Washington Cascades. So we're going to have several rounds of thunderstorms here as we go on in through at least Monday, probably coming up. So yeah, that's going to be something interesting to watch. We're going to see these buildups going on probably on in through next Monday. And then we try to bring this system down into British Columbia here. This is way out in the extended forecast. We're looking like, 9 days out right now, but it's been showing up pretty consistently in the models. And you can see Western BC, much better chances across Vancouver Island areas north. And will it get down into Western Washington or Oregon? It's kind of we just don't know right now. It's kind of way out there to be really getting into too much detail on that yet. I just like to go over these fantasy forecasts sometimes, but we do have that potential here. Going on in through early August. Now, this is Washington, Oregon here. You can see the east slopes of the Cascades here, and you can see these strong winds. That's why they build these wind farms out here, because you get these pretty consistent winds during the afternoon hours. As we go on in through Monday afternoon and evening, check out that wind spilling out across the Columbia Basin here. And yeah, that really gets those wind farms going, generates a lot of electricity there. We calm down as we go on into the morning hours, and then Tuesday afternoon, we pick that up again here. And this is also why there's fire danger increased east of the Cascades. And I'll show you why that is here in a moment as well. With the relative humidity map on the NAM3KM, you can see as we go into this afternoon, you can really see things dry out during the afternoon hours. And we kind of bring those relative humidities back up a bit. And then we go through the same thing Tuesday. And you can imagine we're going to go through the same thing again Wednesday. So you can kind of see why fire danger is generally higher east of the Cascades for the most part. This is looking at the 8-meter smoke, above ground smoke density. You can see the flat fire, Bedrock, Eagle Bluff here. If we put that into motion, you can see these fires just kind of spreading their smoke out and about. Not too bad, at least compared to some of the previous years we've had over the last 5 to 10 years, but it's still, it's impacting some people that are living in and around these areas here. Okanagan Valley here could be getting some interesting flare-ups here over the next few days as well. As you saw in the visible, it wasn't producing quite that much smoke this morning, but that can change quite rapidly here with some of that erratic winds and fire behavior, low relative humidity. Things can spread or reignite out there. So yeah, interesting stuff here. Pretty typical summertime smoke here across the region. Let's hope it doesn't get like it has been in the past few years though. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook here. You can see the yin and yang between Wyoming, Montana, and some of Idaho versus Western Washington and Oregon on through August 9th, and something similar to the 8 to 14 day forecast as well. 6 to 10 day precipitation. We're going to bring these thunderstorms here across the region as well. So some of this includes that, and this may include the potential for that system as we go on in through early to mid-August. And this is the GFS finishing up with this. This goes all the way out about 16 days. And you can see the ensemble mean, the average of all 30 ensemble members, does try to bring some precip down into Oregon. And, better chances, of course, across British Columbia here. The further north you go, the better chance you're going to be impacted by one of those systems that swings through there. And maybe get down to Seattle and Portland here. And you can see not too much for the Columbia Basin. Of course, you get east of the Cascades there. Not looking at too much. But some of this is going to be thunderstorm activity across Idaho, some of the Blue Mountains there, northeast Washington, BC, the Rockies, Alberta, Montana down towards Yellowstone as well. Some of that thunderstorm activity will be going on here this weekend on into early next week, and it really starting as early as Thursday across a lot of the area. This is looking at 500 millibars. I lied. We have another chart to look at here. You can see the ridge building this weekend here in the GFS, and this is 850 millibar temperatures. You can see the temperatures warming up above us, and 500 millibar heights. That means a ridge, and then we're going to bring a trough here. A trough is low pressure, cooler, more clouds, onshore flow. So we'll see how this goes, but been pretty good model agreement out through the extended around the August 9th, 10th time frame there. So something to look forward to there. And this is just comparing the European, not quite as strong with the ridge and not quite as strong with the troughing here following. So yeah, anyway, that's it. That's what we got. And this it looks like it's producing quite a bit of smoke there out there across Idaho. Hopefully that thing can get under control. It looks like it's way back in the terrain there also, so it might be hard to fight that one. But yeah, the bedrock fire, the flat fire is still going out there. Don't sleep on that one too, producing smoke. And there's the Okanagan River Valley. You can see the smoke drift down overnight, moving off to the south. But not many low clouds around western Washington, Oregon, so pretty nice day today. But anyway, yeah, we'll do this again tomorrow. We'll watch that ridge and troughing coming up. We'll watch those thunderstorms coming up here towards the end of the weekend on in through next weekend as well. Something fun to watch here. Storm chasers across the region might be out there trying to catch some lightning strikes there on the higher terrain. But anyway, hope you guys are liking these videos. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.